The stone path was old, so old that the earth had begun to reclaim it. Cracks ran through its surface like rivers frozen in time. Dust had settled deep into those lines, filling them with silence. People passed by every day, their footsteps echoing without thought, never noticing that life was quietly working beneath their feet. One spring morning, when the air was still cool and the sun was slow to rise, something changed. From one of those cracks, thin, dry, almost invisible, a tiny green stem pushed its way out. It was fragile, trembling with the weight of the world above it. The stone was heavy, the soil beneath shallow, yet the seed within it decided that even here, in the most unlikely place, life would find a way. No one saw it at first. The path remained the same to every hurried passerby. But day by day, the stem stretched higher, chasing the light that filtered through the spaces between shadows. It didn't question why it had been planted in stone when others had been planted in fields. It didn't wonder why the wind was harsher here or why the ground was unkind. It simply grew, slowly, stubbornly, faithfully. Rain came that week, soft and hesitant. Tiny droplets seeped into the crack, feeding the small life within. The seed drank deeply, as if it had been waiting for this moment since the beginning of time. The sun followed, warming the fragile leaves that had just unfurled. And there, in the heart of the stone, a small flower bloomed. Its petals were pale at first, unsure of their place in a world of gray. But with every sunrise, their color deepened, yellow, bold, alive. The stone around it remained the same, cold, hard, unchanging. But somehow, the flower made even the stone seem less lifeless. Birds began to land nearby, curious. A butterfly hovered, confused by how such beauty could emerge from nothing. The other plants in the nearby field noticed, too. They whispered through the wind, wondering how something so delicate could survive where even moss had failed. The old oak tree that towered over the path watched in silence, its deep roots stretching into fertile ground far beyond. It had always believed that strength came from stability, from deep soil and space to grow. Yet here was something small and delicate, proving that strength could also come from struggle. The flower didn't know it was admired. It only knew that each day brought new challenges. The rain didn't always fall kindly. Sometimes it came in torrents, flooding the path, washing over the fragile stem. The sun didn't always shine gently either. Some days it blazed, drying the air and cracking the stone even more. But the flower did what life always does when tested. It adapted. It learned to gather water quickly when it rained and conserve its strength when it didn't. It turned its face to the light whenever it could find it, and when it couldn't, it waited. Weeks turned into months. People began to notice. A traveler passing by stopped one morning. Staring down at the impossible sight, a single flower blooming in the middle of stone. He smiled, touched it gently, and for a moment, something inside him shifted. He had come a long way, weary and tired, but seeing that flower gave him quiet strength. It whispered something he couldn't quite explain, that no matter where you are planted, you can still bloom. The flower didn't know it had become a message. It didn't know its resilience was being written into the hearts of those who saw it. It simply continued being itself, soft yet strong, fragile yet fierce, temporary yet eternal in its purpose. The summer sun burned fiercely that year. The stones grew so hot that they could crack eggs if left long enough. The air shimmered with heat. Many plants in the nearby meadow wilted. Yet the little flower endured. Its roots, though short, had found their way into tiny pockets of moisture trapped beneath the rock. Its leaves curled slightly to protect themselves from the scorching rays, conserving what little life they could. Still, every morning when the sun rose, it stood tall. Sometimes endurance is quiet. It doesn't shout or demand applause. It simply continues when nothing else can. When autumn arrived, the flower began to fade. Its petals lost some of their brilliance. Its stem leaned a little lower. The cold winds blew, carrying whispers of change. Yet even as it aged, it did not despair. Beneath the surface, deep within the narrow crevice, it had left something behind, tiny seeds. They nestled in the cracks, waiting. Winter came with frost and silence. The flower was gone now. Its body returned to dust. The path seemed lifeless once again. But hidden beneath the stone, the seeds slept. They waited through the long months of cold, patient and unseen. They did not rush. They knew the cycle of life and trusted it. Then, when spring returned, the miracle happened again. One by one, new stems appeared, small, green, reaching for sun. Not one this time, but many. The cracks that had once seemed like scars on the earth were now lines of life. The path that had been gray and forgotten was now dotted with color. Yellows, whites, pinks, purples. What had begun as one stubborn act of life had become a chorus of resilience. The oak tree watched again from afar, and in its stillness, it understood something it never had before. Greatness is not only in standing tall for centuries, but also in daring to rise in impossible places. The strength of the flower was not in its height or size. It was in its refusal to believe the stone was stronger than life. Years passed. The path grew older, the cracks deeper, the flowers more abundant. They came and went with the seasons, each generation rooted in the same impossible earth, each one reminding the world that beauty can grow anywhere. And though their lives were short, their impact was eternal. Children would stop to look at them and laugh. Travelers would pause to take a deep breath. Some would take pictures. Others would take memories. All would leave changed. The stones never understood how they had become the cradle of something beautiful. But in their silence, they began to soften too. Moss grew on their edges. Tiny roots slowly split them further apart. What was once hard and lifeless now nurtured life. The wind carried pollen from the flowers to the fields, spreading color beyond the path. Bees buzzed joyfully, collecting nectar. Birds carried seeds far away, planting hope in places unseen. And so, a single bloom had changed an entire landscape. It had not done it through strength or speed or force. It had done it through quiet persistence, through the simple act of believing in the light, even when surrounded by darkness. There will always be places in the world that seem too hard for life to grow. Cracked walls, forgotten corners, broken spaces. But life, like the flower, refuses to accept impossibility. It looks for the tiniest opening, the smallest chance, and turns it into a miracle. When storms return, when people step over without noticing, when time and weather try to erase its existence, life begins again. Because that's what life does. It doesn't ask for permission to grow. It just grows. If you walk that old path today, you'll see the flowers still there. Some are new, some are fading, but they all share the same story written in their veins. The story of a seed that refused to die, a bloom that refused to wait for perfect soil. They remind the world that strength isn't always loud, that courage isn't always in grand gestures. Sometimes it's in a single petal pushing through stone, a quiet defiance against despair, a soft whisper saying, "I will grow anyway." And as the sun sets, painting the sky in gold and crimson, the flowers close their petals for the night, resting only to rise again. The world grows silent, but their lesson remains, echoing softly through the dusk. Even in the hardest places, beauty can find a way. Even in the cracks of life, hope can bloom. And no matter how heavy the world may feel, there's always light waiting above, if you just dare to reach for it. Because the true strength of life is not in where it grows, but in the fact that it grows at all.